Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are having a great weekend, end of the week. Hopefully by the time I post this, it's going to be around like holiday season. It's going to be Christmas week, so I'm hoping everybody is having a fun time, just getting gifts, shopping for family, etc., doing, you know, last minute errands to get ready for the holidays. Anyways, before I get started with this video, because I always forget, and even though it's not that important, I would really appreciate your support if you guys would just quickly subscribe to my channel. Hashtag shameless plug. It helps me out a lot. It helps out the YouTube algorithm. So if you have a second, just hit subscribe. Outside of that, another update is I also had a new setup for you guys. So usually I bake here and I just let you guys watch me, but it's really hard to see baking from this little portable island. So I have a new setup. It's gonna be interesting. I hooked up an overhead tripod to my other cabinet over there. So this video, you are gonna be seeing me make these beautiful pink, even though I didn't intend them to be, oversized peppermint macaroons. Now, my oven is preheated. Now, I woke up really early this morning to start this, so there's not going to be much natural light in the video with you seeing me get this ready. Also too, it's a very gloomy day out, so you're not gonna get a lot of natural light from that footage, besides probably this intro and maybe the outro if the lighting is like still working in my favor. These macaroons have been drying out for the past hour now, so I'm gonna quickly pop these into the oven, but for now I'm going to rewind and let you guys watch what I did from the beginning of the process till now. Let me move this plant so that way we are in focus. Alrighty then. What else? So before I put these in the oven, so my journey with macaroons, it's been a long one. I have not made these since college, so it's probably been about 8 years. I spent a lot of hours in college perfecting this recipe. I feel like with baking, it's like similar to a language. If you don't use it, you lose it. So this was a test recipe because I'm thinking for the holidays I'll make people, like, I'll just make a big batch of macaroon and I'll give them out as holiday treats for like friends and family. So I wanted to play with a recipe now, a new one. So this was a practice recipe. I did some of the right things along the way. I made a couple mistakes. I'll like let you know when I like go through the footage. I will say that macaroons are difficult to make. I don't know. I've practiced with the batter since college, so I don't have issues there. Piping, everybody knows I hate piping. It's not something that I like to do. I don't like decorating like desserts, so I don't like piping. I also don't like frosting, which is kind of like odd to say, but it's true. I like to focus on like texture and taste rather than making things pretty. So that took me a while to perfect, but when I was in college I made macaroons over and over again because I made like a bunch of basic mistakes with the batter. So this time around, like, it's like muscle memory. Some of the stuff that I do, like, I can make a macaroon batter. Making it look pretty, not my best, but making the batter, I can do it in my sleep. Like, my hands will just do what it needs to do. If I have some pictures, I probably can insert some, because I know for a fact if I go farther enough in my Facebook, I know for a fact one day I did some key lime and some dulce de leche macaroons that were amazing. That's probably the only batch that I actually took pictures of, but it took me a long time to perfect it. Anyways, this one I wanted to do something holiday themed, so I wanted to do peppermint. I was trying to make these macaroons red. I will tell you right now, the mistake that I made is that I accidentally ordered, I did not notice until literally when I opened up my Amazon package to put the food coloring in the batter, I accidentally ordered liquid food coloring, do not order liquid food coloring. The water in it just makes the color fade, and it's not going to be the color that you intend it to be, especially mixing it with a white egg white, excuse me, is going to be washed out. Use a gel food coloring when you're baking. Not only macaroons, like even if you're using like fondant for a cake, even if it's a regular cake batter, if you want a good color, you need a gel food coloring. So because I had a liquid one, my macaroons came out pink, which is totally fine. This was a practice batch, and I just wanted to see how it would look. So this is not the color that I initially intended, but we can always do pink peppermint. Totally fine. So for macaroons, I used the standard macaroon recipe. I switched out the vanilla extract for peppermint just for the flavor for this. And for macaroons, this is probably the only cookie that I would say, usually when baking, I like mess around with like the measurements. This is the one recipe I will tell you from botching dozens and dozens of macaroon batter recipes. You need to do exact measurements. This is like the one time I would tell you, you need to do exact measurements. I know a lot of people say baking is science, which is partially true, but there's another part of me that doesn't fully believe that, because if you just stick to a recipe, I feel like you lose a lot of like innovation. Like a lot of good recipes came from creative mistakes. So there are some basic things that you need to follow, but when it comes to macaroons, you have to sticks to the exact measurements, or else you're gonna have issues with your batter. You're gonna have issues when you try to bake them. You're gonna have a ton of issues. Okay, outside of that, that is pretty much it. So yeah, I'm gonna put these in the oven. I'm gonna show you guys what I did and kind of talk you through the process, and then we will go from there. Peace.
So the first thing I did was prep my cookie sheet. So I use a template to figure out the size of my macaroons. So what I do is I take some parchment paper, I trace out an outline. I usually use a cap of some sort, make an outline on my parchment paper, and then put my silicone mats on top of my parchment paper. The reason why I do this is because if you bake a batch and they don't come out the way you would like them to, you will still have a template that you can reuse. Spoiler alert, this did come in handy later on in the video. But for right now, I was just figuring out the size of the macaroons that I wanted. I decided to make a bigger cookie, and I just drew a bunch of circles, and then once I was done, you just put the silicone mat on top of it, and you can see through the silicone mat and spread your batter within the template. So that way you have a guide to try to get as perfect circles that you can to match the cookie. Okay, so here I am starting my batter. So the first thing I did was I had my eggs sit on the countertop. You need room to put your eggs. So right now what I'm just doing is I'm taking out the egg yolks and separating them with the egg whites. I let the whites sit by themselves for a couple of minutes to just come up to temperature while I sieved my dry ingredients. Fun fact, if you have some eggshells in your egg whites, just actually use the eggshells to just get the other small little pieces of fragments outside of your egg whites, and that'll work perfectly. So here I just got my almond flour, and I already purchased like the finely grated almond flour. So the only thing I need to do was put it through a sieve. And I just grabbed my confectioner's sugar, and I'm gonna put both of those through a sieve with a little bit of salt to get my dry ingredients ready for this batter. Now you will get some clumpy pieces of almond flour or confectioner's sugar. I just grab a knife and I try to just chop those into smaller pieces to help it get through the sieve. I try not to waste product if I don't have to, so I try to get as much of the product out of the sieve as I can, and then just move forward with the process. So now I'm getting my mixer ready to beat my egg whites. They should be at room temperature now. Also added a little bit of salt. And I start my mixer off on medium-high just to get the egg whites going in the bowl. And then once they get a little bit foamy, I kick it up a notch and go to high speed. So you want to get your eggs to have a soft peak. So you can see in the tip I have a soft peak. I should be able to turn my bowl upside down and nothing should fall out. Over here I'm quickly putting in my food coloring. This is when I noticed I had the wrong one. I had a liquid food coloring. So if you can, please get a gel food coloring. The color is going to come out much more vibrant for your macaroons. Once my meringue was the coloring consistency I wanted, I prepped the meringue to be mixed in with my dry ingredients. So I first folded in half of my dry ingredients, still keeping the batter light and fluffy because you don't want to mix the batter too hard. Because you don't want to release all the air that you just whipped in with your electric mixer. So you just have to fold, and the trick is to see if your batter can make a figure 8 with your spatula. Once it can, you definitely have the right consistency. Next, I had to get my piping bag ready. The easiest way to fill a piping bag is to use a cup. So I have some metal tips here. I just cut the ends of my piping bag. I fit the tip inside of my piping bag, and then what you do is you fold the bottom where the tip is, you push the rest of the bag in, roll the bag down, and you can slowly add in the batter. That way you can fill the piping bag without making a mess all over the place. Now it's time to start making my macaroons. So as you can see, I just use the template to make circles, and I just pipe in circles and continue to fill out the cookie sheet. I will say for a couple of the ones that I started with, I overshot the amount of batter that I needed, and you have to keep in mind that the batter is going to spread, so even if there's an imperfection, you're better off just maneuvering the batter that you already have on the baking sheet instead of squeezing out more batter, because it's just going to spread and it's going to get bigger. And these were already a big size, so if you're heavy-handed with the batter, they're going to spread and they're going to be really uneven, so just be a little bit careful and mindful of that. Now, because you have so much air in your batter, sometimes you have some air bubbles. So slapping the bottom of the pan against the kitchen counter, and also taking a knife and just tapping the air bubbles a little bit out is going to go a long way. Tapping really hard does help bring some of the air bubbles to the surface, but sometimes it doesn't always do the job. So a knife will just help you speed along the process a little bit.
All right, y'all, I'm back. I made a mistake. These came out pretty solid, even for them to be, I made them extra large. These are pretty large for macaroons, the size of them. Even for them to be large, I feel like they're perfectly baked, so I'm very happy with them. However, I was in the rush. Turns out I was in a rush for no reason because I thought the post office was gonna close, so I ran to the post office. And they didn't even have my package, so, or they lost it, who the hell knows. Anyways, went to post office, so I was in a rush and put both of the trays in the oven at the same time. And I know better than to do this, but I took the risk and now I'm taking the L. Perfect, I'll put this to the side. The macaroons that were on the bottom rack, cracked, completely cracked. And the color is even more faded. It's too much direct heat. You cannot put macaroons in the bottom rack. You need to bake them one by one. On the top rack, they don't taste too bad. Yeah, they're a little overbaked. But it's fine, it's fine. We're gonna use the ones that we have and call it a day. So traditionally macaroons I fill with buttercream, and I was gonna make a buttercream, but I was like, you know what, I should use what I have on hand in the house. So what I'm going to do is reuse some cream cheese frosting that I had in my fridge. So I'll put this to the side. And bam, cream cheese, bowl, an electric mixer. So anytime you either reuse old frosting, or if you buy the frosting that's in a container, it's better to whip it anyway. It's going to be easier to work with just because you reincorporate more air in the filling. So I'm going to make a small batch of this like cream cheese peppermint filling type situation. Depending on the flavor of your macaroon, I'm not a believer of putting just the flavor in the cookie and then not in the filling. So sometimes people will do like a hazelnut macaroon and they'll put like hazelnut in the actual cookie, but in the filling of itself they'll use buttercream. I'm not a fan of that. I feel like if you're gonna use a hazelnut, either make a separate hazelnut filling, or you could use like Nutella because it has hazelnut in it. Same thing, like I told you guys before, I did a dulce de leche macaroon, and inside of it I actually made dulce de leche, put it in the middle. I made a key lime one, and instead of putting like I'm losing my train of thoughts, like lime zest in the buttercream, I actually made like a key lime filling. And so that's why you have to experiment with it. Same thing, cookie butter. If you're gonna make a cookie butter macaroon, put cookie butter, use that as the filling. I know some people use different kinds of jams. I've never tried that, but you can do that. Using a traditional buttercream also, it's fine, but I feel like if you're gonna do a flavored one specifically, then I think it's better to incorporate that flavor in the filling if you can. So anyways, that's enough of me talking. Let me quickly make this filling, and then I'll show you guys watching me fill the macarons. I'm not gonna pipe the macarons in this batch. I'm just gonna use my knife, fill them, and call it a day. So it should be quick. All right, let me just do what I need to do. Well, Houston, we have a problem. Almost every single macaron stuck to the base, and I'm over it. So, solution. I'm going to start over again. I'm going to rebake these, and then I will come back. It's just not working in my favor. Not one of these looks like it's gonna come off easily, and pain in the ass. I should have baked this one tray at a time. Let me just start over and call it a day. Oh, guys, it's been a long day and I'm over it. I should have tried to save the under-baked version of my first batch because I made another batch and they're terrible. They came out the oven super cracked, and I don't know why, and a little bit burnt around the edges. Like, you can't really see the color. Like, they look brown, but they're also like a really, really light pink because for whatever reason the batter didn't take the color as well. So I'm tired. It's been all day trying to make macaroons. To be fair, this batch, even though they're bad, they're edible. I actually had a cookie with some frosting that we made earlier and it was actually pretty good. And then I nibbled on this one. Tastes pretty good. It's not what I'm gonna do. So I'm going to try again tomorrow, batch number 3. This is so sad. I also know what the issue is. Well, there's 2 issues. I thought I could get around it because I remember having these issues when I used to practice back in the day, and I thought I could get around it, and I can't. One, the size of my macaroons are just too big. That's what it comes down to, because you really can't mess with the bake time. So I pretty much made them double the size. So I'm gonna try to make smaller versions tomorrow. The second issue is this batter was a little too runny. I should have tried to correct it with some almond flour or more powdered sugar. And that's why it cracked like this on top. So I have my second tray in the oven now. I baked it at a lower temperature so that way at least the cookies wouldn't burn. So instead of baking it at 300, I baked it at 285 for about 25 minutes. So I'm gonna take them out. Honestly, they're not gonna be burnt, but they still have like these wrinkles on the shelf, so there's no need to. See, it's time for them to come out. Alexa, stop. There's no need to do anything else except for try again tomorrow. Can't do it again today. It's fine. Anyways, see you bright and early. It is the nighttime and I'm back. Afro wrapped. I am truly upset about how today's event went down. Truly. So before I get ready for bed, I'm going to prep for tomorrow. I ordered some gel food coloring on Amazon. So hopefully that gets here in the afternoon maybe. So at least I have some sunlight to work with to record. Also too, I was supposed to put granulated sugar in my batter. Didn't have any. Orders from Amazon, got today. Lastly, remember when I second guessed myself and said, oh, I should probably use this top to draw my template and instead went for the bigger one? I'm backtracking, and so at least tonight I'm going to draw out my template so that way I'm ready for tomorrow. So here we go. And fun fact, I'm using some of these slightly overcooked, crunkly leftover macaroons to weigh down my parchment paper. We are back. We are better than ever. We are thriving. The weather is much better outside today, as you can see by the lighting. I'm in a good mood. I'm heavily caffeinated. I just came back from the supermarket. This is going to be the third and final attempt at making these macaroons. I cannot afford to take another L, literally. I am making major adjustments today, and whether I like it or not, the end product is going to be the end product. Let's hope we actually get to the end product this time. Anyways, so I did some research, and to be honest with you, I think something may have been wrong with the recipe that I was using. Everybody agrees that if you want to make a batch of macaroons, about 30 to 36 of them, you use 3 egg whites. Now, recipe I was using yesterday called for 1 cup of almond flour and then 1 3/4 cups of confectioner's sugar. And like when I was making it, I said to myself, that sounds like a lot of powdered sugar. Like it's just a little odd that you have more powdered sugar than you do have almond flour, because the macaroon is actually an almond cookie. But I did it anyway, just because, like I said before, when you have a macaroon recipe, you need to follow it basically to the T. Followed the recipe and clearly had some issues. Now, did some research. Other recipes call for the 3 egg whites. However, they call for 1 cup of powdered sugar and about 1.5 cups or 1 3/4 cups of almond flour. So I feel like whoever wrote the recipe, they may have just flipped the powdered sugar with the almond flour. Because in my mind, I was like, that makes more sense. And by chance, I just happened to pick, like, I should have just did some research before I did the second batch, because I knew something just seemed off when I did it, but I did it anyway. So, major adjustment number 1. Adjustment number 2 was yesterday. I did not have any granulated sugar, which sounds pretty odd, but at the same time it makes sense. I bake all the time. Sugar is something, sugar, eggs, butter, milk, the essentials, I run out of it all of the time. And it wasn't until I started the recipe yesterday when I realized, hey, don't have enough granulated sugar to put in the batter, but it should be fine because I have powdered sugar. Powdered sugar is just a more refined and blended version of granulated sugar, so I was like, okay, it should be fine. But now thinking back, I was like, maybe anyways, the granulated sugar, I think, helped stabilize the batter. So now we have granulated sugar, so we should be fine there. Adjustment number 3 is I want to help stabilize the egg whites. Now, usually it's cold, it's winter time where I am. Usually you can do the meringue by itself. You usually don't need cream of tartar to help stabilize the meringue because you're not dealing with warm weather. And I didn't have that issue like you guys saw when I why is this lighting off? Okay. You guys saw when I turned the bowl upside down, the meringue didn't fall out of the bowl, so the meringue was fine. However, because I cannot afford to mess up this batter, I went to the store and purposely got this stabilizer because I cannot do this again. So I'm going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of the stabilizer into the batter. 4th adjustment. Like everything I did yesterday was wrong. I got the correct food coloring, which is the gel one. I'm doing basic red, so it should come out red like this. If it doesn't, Betty Crocker, you suck. But for the most part, I'm hoping that Betty Crocker does me some justice and this food coloring works. Last but not least, 5th adjustment. All the recipes that I've seen said you cook the macaroons at 300 Fahrenheit. I remember in my college days, I also burnt a lot of macaroons. I'm like having deja vu and like nightmares just because I've made macaroons. You just have to keep doing it and doing it over and over and over again to get rid of all the kinks. And then once you get it, you can like just do it, but it just takes a long time to get the recipe right. I burnt a lot of them. So I know the temperature, especially depending on your oven, it gets really funny really easily. So, for example, yesterday, I did not get to show you guys the cookie that I baked at 285. So hopefully you can see. The lighting is a little weird, but you can see even though the color is washed out, this one, it's a lot less burnt and it's only brown around the rim and it's still like a pinkish color, whereas this, it's more brown, it looks more burnt. The lighting is a little distorted here, but you can see that this one, you can see the color a lot better. And the texture also was a lot softer. So, I do not care. I'm baking these macaroons at 285. I need them to have an even cook with not getting too much heat without burning. So with all of that being said, this video is going to be like an hour. I'm starting again on batch 3. And hopefully my motivation for eating a good lunch will get me through. I'm going to stop talking now and I'm just going to get to work. Watch the magic happen. Betty Crocker now. This food coloring is not giving what it's supposed to give. This is definitely still pink. At least it's a more vibrant pink. So I guess we're still going with the pink macaroon theme. There's a little bit of food coloring still in this bowl. So hopefully it'll make it a little bit more red, but it's giving pink. Look how stiff these peaks are. I'm very, very hopeful. Like, very, very hopeful now that we have the egg white stabilized that this is going to be much better than yesterday. So let me get to mixing in the dry ingredients. Okay guys, 30 minutes later, I am done. We have a new set of smaller macarons. Recipes usually say they need to dry out for 30 to 45 minutes. I'm going to let it dry out for at least an hour and a half. Right now, I'm going to just enjoy a couple hours, watch some TV, and pray to the Lord that this works. And what I'll probably do, I'll preheat my oven to 285 like I said before. I'm gonna cook these for 20 minutes because I'm doing a lower bake time. They may need to cook for more, so I'm gonna cook them for 20 minutes. I will check them. If they need more time, I will rotate them and I'll give them another 5 maybe to 10 minutes to cook, but I'm really trying hard not to overcook these things. So I will keep you posted. If something goes wrong with the cook time, I'll just turn it up to 300. No biggie. Anyways, I'll be back. You guys, I'm back and I'm very excited because I think we got a successful batch. Thank you, Jesus. All right, let me show you what we're working with here. So I baked these for 20 to 22 minutes on 285. They did not burn. They've been cooling now for at least like 40 minutes. And gently, I picked up a few and I saw that they come off. Hold on, wait, I pulled this one off. So here, it's like you have to very slowly and gently pull the cookies off. But they are coming off and it's fairly clean if you see, for the most part. The bottoms of these. And I just quickly showed you guys, I remade that peppermint buttercream. I didn't make a ton because I didn't want a lot saved over. And this is on the side. So What I'm gonna do quickly is match the size of these cookies, the tops and the bottoms. I'm going to pull the rest of these off. I have another sheet worth of cookies. I'm gonna try to match them up, and then I'm gonna start plating them so you guys can watch. I'm very, very excited. You guys, she's crooked, but she's done. Oh, look at this beautiful macaron tower here. Okay. Let me put it on its cake stand in all of its glory. Alright, it took me nothing but 3 attempts and a whole lot of food coloring, going to the supermarket, making more buttercream, just a whole lot of time. But it looks beautiful from this viewfinder. It could be a little neater, not gonna lie. You can get it neater by piping in the filling. I will repeat again, I hate piping. It's not the thing that I like to do, so I'm not gonna do it. But anyway, here it is in all of its glory. Check her out. Okay people, last but not least, for the sake of the video, I'm going to try one. Oh my god, it smells so good. What is going on here? Something is weird with... Alright, now you can see me better. Alright, let's try this. It's really good. Really decadent. But yeah, why I don't eat macarons that much. Like, a little goes a long way. You only need one. And turns out size matters. You cannot make a giant macaroon. I learned my lesson. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you got all the way to the end, you're at like the final credits of this story. Like I said before, if you like the content, please subscribe and also like the videos. They help the YouTube algorithm. They help me out a lot and I really appreciate the support. Thank you all. Till next time.